Hi there, Inform Scotland followers and friends. I've just updated the website in the daily graphs section with the data from 15th to 17th of May. I've promised myself that come 4 o'clock I'm going to get out of my computer jumper and tidy myself up because I spent the whole day stuck in phone calls for Inform Scotland stuff, and we're having quite a big week this week. So I'm feeling a bit gross, and come 4 o'clock I'm signing off. Also, my daughter's trying to watch TV here and is getting very frustrated that I'm recording. I wanted to update you just because there is so much concern / panic about COVID surges now in East Renfrewshire as well. So we've got Moray, East Renfrewshire and Glasgow all apparently showing increased cases per 100,000. Now, I do not believe that there is any cause for undue concern. We have a slight uptick in the number of cases returning or positives returning from tests across Scotland, but when you look at the percentage positive rate, it has gone up very slightly as well in the last couple of days, but we're still at 1.5%. Now the WHO epidemic level is 5% in the community, and I would just like to remind you that the positive percentage rate that the ONS has found from its prevalence survey is 0.08%. Yes, you heard that correct. 0.08%. So even when we're testing and presumably trying to track chains of transmission and things, we're not finding more than 1.5% of tests are coming back positive. I've heard it quoted in several sources that the lack of transmission and the fact that the cases are asymptomatic are a cause for concern. Now, I don't understand why you are concerned if you're not finding transmission and you're finding lots of asymptomatic cases. If people aren't spreading it and they're not getting sick, who cares? Frankly, who knows what viruses I might be hosting in my system, who knows what you might be hosting. If you're not sick, it really doesn't particularly matter unless it's type of virus, not a respiratory one. I've put in an extra graph this week because I think it's, or today, I think it's quite an important point. I track the positive percentage rates daily, like for days of the week, and I track them every week. I don't often include this graph. What we've seen this week, if you go and look week 19, the last week, the positive percentages coming back have been very tight. Now, normally we see quite huge variation during the week, and you'll be able to see that if you look at the graph, but this week has been really lacking in variation. I find this very interesting. It signifies a change, and I think it probably indicates that we are on the false positive floor. I can't see any other reason for it, but I don't know if possibly it is possible that it's something to do with the testing strategy, but something has clearly changed, because maybe it's the asymptomatic floor because we're doing so much asymptomatic testing. I'm not sure, but it was of note. It really jumped out at me. So I've put the two graphs for Greater Glasgow and Clyde, which contains the areas Glasgow and East Renfrewshire, and also Grampian, which includes Moray, and you'll be able to see that there's certainly more of an uptick in Greater Glasgow and Clyde than there is in Grampian. Grampian has absolutely hee-haw happening, frankly. In Glasgow, we've got some more positives coming back. It's only meaningful in the context of how many tests you've done. So in the last 3 days in Grampian, of which Moray is a sub-region, we have 26, 16 and 15 positive tests respectively. Now imagine how many must have come from Moray in that case. It would be less than 26, less than 16 and less than 15 presumably. Greater Glasgow and Clyde, the last 3 days we've had 176, 143 and 60 respectively. Now that includes 2 areas where we have surges happening. If you go and look at hospitals, hospital occupancy for these regions, graph 8 in the blog post, Glasgow is flat, Greater Glasgow and Clyde's flat, Lanarkshire's flat, Grampian's flat, Lothian's flat. There is no crisis in the hospitals. That's it. Vaccinations are limping along. Second doses are falling, and have been now for some time. That's approaching a month of dropping second doses. First doses recovered a little bit recently, and then they've started to fall again. I think clearly there's a bit of a problem with as far as the government's concerned anyway, in getting people to take up their vaccinations unless they've started to offer them at a slower rate, but I doubt that actually. And just one thing I would urge caution on, we at Inform Scotland will never, well, I can't say never, but what we're aiming to do is present you with information so that you can make a decision about what your response to that information should be. I'm not telling you shouldn't be concerned about COVID, not at all. I'm also not telling you that you should be concerned. I'm just telling you what the situation is. It's out there, we know it exists. We're not living in cloud cuckoo land where we can eradicate all problems that might face us in the virological sense, but we should be concerned now. I think, this is my opinion, we should be concerned about lockdown, and we should be aiming to get ourselves out of lockdown as quickly as possible. As far as vaccination is concerned, there's an awful lot of pressure being put on people, I think, to get vaccinated. I've seen a lot of videos on Facebook from health authorities encouraging people very strongly, or in fact instructing them to get vaccinated. And there's particular focus on areas where we see surges. Now, if you're being encouraged to be vaccinated on the basis of a surge, you should be clear what the extent of that surge is. So look at these data that I presented to you. You can check the spreadsheets for yourself and check that the data are correct. You can go and look at the government data yourself, all referenced on the graphs, and check that they are correct. And you can then go to Public Health Scotland and you can look at the rates of infection. But remember, these are positive tests per 100,000 of population. So when there are fewer than 100,000 people in an area, they multiply the rate of positives back up. And this can mean that your area, it might be, depending on how small the population in your area is, it might be that you will jump straight up into a high infection level as soon as one person is infected. Have a think about that. But you have to look at it in a bigger picture. NHS Grampian, for example, covers Murray. Murray COVID positives who are going to end up hospitalised will be very small in number, because we know that a small proportion of people infected end up in hospital. A lot of people pick up infections in hospital as well, we know that. But you're only interested in the number of infections in Murray in that context. How many people are going to end up hospitalised? How many people are going to end up seriously ill with COVID? Nobody wants anybody to be seriously ill with COVID. We don't want people to be seriously ill with anything. But unfortunately, human beings do get ill. And also human beings need joy and love in their lives. I don't know if I can give you joy, but I can give you love. I do love you. Stay sane, stay strong, stay tuned, and maybe write your MSPOE email or two about what you might see on here. I'm signing off for the night now. Bye.